Welcome to Snakes and Otters, a pointless discussion of eternal questions. Get ready, we're about to live in your head rent-free. Merry Christmas, Otterites! It is episode 135.
I am Martin.
And I'm Robert.
And I'm Francis.
All right, it's Christmas, literally Christmas Eve today, boys. Christmas Eve.
Yes, Christmas time is here. We could do all this.
It's Christmas time and Hollis Queens. Mom's cooking chicken and collard greens.
He says with a mouthful of Little Debbie Christmas cake.
No, these are unicorn sprinkle strawberry.
Well, come on, work with me here. It's an audio only. It can be whatever.
Veracity. We have to get the little things right.
That's right.
Or they won't trust us on the big things.
Very true, very true. So, gentlemen, obviously since it's Christmas, we're doing our Christmas-themed episode as we always do.
Mm-hmm.
And now this episode will have a shorter title on the feed, but the one I like to call it is, Hi, I'm Santa Claus. I'm here to hand out presents and punch heretics in the face. And I'm all out of presents.
Okay, there you go. Very Duke Nukem of you, sir.
Yes.
Very Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Yes, yeah, there we go.
Well, what is the name of that movie? Doggone it. I can't remember the name of the movie.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
I'm here to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of bubble gum.
Well, yeah. Well, that Duke Nukem stole it years later, but yeah, we'll have to look that one up.
So
skip a bit, brother.
Yes,
we'll
skip a bit, brother. Yes. So we want to talk about Santa Claus, but the real Santa Claus, Saint Nicholas. So, real quick, for all those who like to listen to our show with the kids around, especially an episode like this, you may want to send them out of the room and not let them listen to this episode.
Yeah, that's kind of a regular thing. I mean, generally you should send the kids out of the room.
Well, yeah, but some people are very irresponsible.
We are on our YouTube feed. It says we're explicit. We do occasionally drop a few curse words, but very rarely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we deal with adult themes, but we don't deal generally with, like rated R kind of themes.
Yeah. But
this one, we want you to send the kids out of the room because we don't want to burst any bubbles.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
Not because there was going to be a, sexual innuendo.
Right. Not on this topic, no.
I'll find a way.
Yeah, you probably
it can be done. Usually this is done very subtly with great nuance and great humor because, that's when, it's not the explicitness that makes it funny.
We usually cut Francis out of those, but every once in a while he's popped in a good one.
That's true. And
we had to give him some praise on.
That's right. Props where props are due.
Yeah.
So Saint Nicholas is, everybody knows the name, but we always think of Santa Claus. And in America, we think of Santa Claus a version of Santa Claus that did not even exist until the 1880s. So, the real St. Nicholas is actually a Catholic bishop from the 4th century, St. Nicholas. And St. Nicholas is known for several things. There's a great famous painting of St. Nicholas that I absolutely love, and that is where he is saving these three who are about to be beheaded. And it's a fantastic painting. Then he's also known for what appears to be the origin of the gift-giving part of the story, for saving 3 young girls from a life of prostitution, because their parents did not have enough money for a dowry. So he basically tossed in a little bit of money one night each of the girls' houses, so that the parents would have the money for a dowry. So not only you had to pay to get rid of your excess girls back then, crazy stuff, but whatever. But he did that to save them from prostitution. And from there, this whole idea of the gift-giving, especially on the Feast of St. Nicholas, which is December 6th, which is where, depending on where your country of origin for where your particular tradition comes from, it can be lots of different things. It can be candy and shoes, although I don't think I'd want to eat the candy that were in shoes, but there's different ways of, it's little things that people would get on the 6th. Fruit, candy, whatever. And that's still practiced in many places. Still big in Germany, I believe. In Poland. It was very big with Mrs. Roberts' family when she was growing up. Yeah. And so, he's got a great reputation as far as being a great benevolent figure. which, what else would we associate with Santa Claus? And yet he was also a fervent and ardent Christian. I mean, he was a bishop, so obviously he's not going to be a lukewarm guy. He was at the first official full council of the church in Nicaea. And he is famously known for what I think is just I don't care if it's apocryphal, I choose to believe this. Because it's such a great story.
All right.
So the primary debate at that time was whether or not Jesus Christ was fully human, or if he was divine. So,
such iteration thereof.
Yes, and of course, modern theology will tell us he's both. He is both fully human and fully divine, and you cannot separate the two. And it's just a given that we all take, except for, of course, Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons. We would consider them Arians, because they do not believe in the divinity of Christ. Modified versions of Arianism, but essentially Arians in that sense. And Arian had converted almost the entire empire to his line of thought. A majority of the bishops going into this council would have professed Arianism. Going into the council, this had to be resolved because the emperor said, look, it's causing unrest and I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with this is big because it's not just religious, it's political.
Right, it becomes political.
It's, which of these governors and which of these client kings are Arians and which are fully Catholic and which are what and this and that. So it's more than just like a Protestant split up of different sects. It's very much affecting the political life of, pretty much the known world.
Yes.
And you got to get this stuff settled.
Right. You cannot have this kind of dissension in that environment. It's the way things were structured, just you couldn't have it.
Yeah.
So they get together in Nicaea in 325 AD. That's where it starts. And lots of arguing, I'm sure. There's no Robert's Rules of Order going on in this. And at one point, the legend has it that St. Nicholas gets up and goes over and literally punches Arius in the mouth, because he was denying the divinity of Christ. Mm-hmm. So that's where we get the, punching heretics in the face. And he was actually supposedly punished for this. It says he was temporarily defrocked. We probably wouldn't use that term today. It means a different thing.
Yeah.
But he was basically probably taken from his see, and some kind of censure happened.
To the woodshed for a while, yes.
Yes. But of course he was brought back because he was far too well regarded. And St. Nicholas's side won. Now maybe that's because nobody wanted to get punched in the face.
Yeah,
Mike Tyson tells us
the emperor is watching. You have to make a decision, and eventually what would become Nicene Christianity, the Nicene Creed, wins out.
Right.
Exactly.
And Arianism becomes this unacceptable heresy. It doesn't go away right away.
Oh, no.
Well, it never has gone away.
Yeah,
there have been various versions of it throughout history. It seems to be, we would call Muslims Arians today, because they also do not believe in the divinity of Christ. So in various forms, this what we would call a heresy has cropped up throughout history. Of course, there's the opposite heresy, which is Christ was fully divine and did not have a human nature, and all kinds of variations between the two.
Yeah.
But this is the first major civilization-threatening kind of crisis.
Yeah.
Right.
And they took care of it. And St. Nicholas was very much an important leader and player at that movement. So that's probably where he gained his international, so to speak, notoriety. And, of course, as all saints are, they are known for their holiness and their devotions to various things in the church. And, his just grew because he was especially generous in the acts that he did throughout his life. Real quick, and I'll turn it over to you guys for a little bit more because I've been going with the history here. He is known as Nicolas the Wonder Worker because of all the miracles that are associated with his intercession. He is the patron saint of sailors, merchants, archers, repentant thieves. So regular thieves, just the repentant ones.
That's right.
That goes without saying.
Yeah, that goes without saying. Prostitutes, children, brewers, yay, brewers, pawnbrokers, unmarried people, and students in various cities and countries around Europe.
But not unrepentant prostitutes.
Or
I'm sorry, repentant prostitutes.
Right. He doesn't give a distinction there. So
repentant thieves, but not
repentant
prostitutes.
Yes.
It's an he's equal opportunity with all prostitutes.
Yes.
Very progressive of him.
Yes, very progressive. Yes.
All right. Interesting.
So
that's a lot of things to be patron saints of, though.
Well, the
Sailors
older the saint you are, the more things you are patron saint of.
Okay.
Yeah. When you agree with that, Francis?
Absolutely. Yes. They to get well known early, you kind of had to have a little bit of spectacular drama with you. That's why we have so many martyrs early on. Because until Constantine, you kind of got killed sometimes. When it's illegal, and especially although most of the time it did not take place, but when the persecutions happened, you got a slew of them.
It was the real thing.
It was the real deal. That's correct. Yeah. And it's usually why you ended up with that sort of stuff, because modern saints were you just didn't have as many of them. You always looked to antiquity, to those who went before, and when you start mixing in martyrdom or church councils, you got a plethora of raw material to work with. So since Nicolas, and who doesn't love the punching areas in the face business? It's kind of like Mike Tyson. Everybody got a plan to somebody punch you in the face, and sure enough, there's proof of that in the year 325.
325 is a long, long time ago, isn't it?
It is. Yes.
He is obviously he's one of the most well-known saints. If you had to pick a saint to be the most well-known after Saints Peter and Paul, it would almost have to be Saint Nicholas, just because of the association with the Santa Claus myth.
Right, and even though we really don't know that much about him, relatively speaking.
No, a lot of it is conjecture. A lot of it may be apocryphal. The punching Arius in the face, I almost have to believe, just because that's such an oddball thing to make up.
Yeah, and it's kind of public, And
it's very public,
That's one of the reasons that, and I'm sorry, if one bishop punches another bishop in the face in the middle of a council or somewhere thereabouts,
that's going to make news.
It's going to make news.
That's right. That's going to really hit the gossip vine. The interesting thing about him, though, is obviously this association with Santa Claus as the North Pole god, because he's called Saint Nick, right. But he's not Saint Nicholas.
He's more Kris Kringle.
Right, he's more Kris Kringle, which is a Germanic thing, and but he gets his name associated with what becomes Santa Claus through this Sinterklaas, and that's Santa Claus, and that's because his gift giving, saving the girls from prostitution, and so on, and so there is, as in most things, an historical basis for the myth that is later built up, which I always find fascinating. Gentlemen.
I would like to think that the story of St. Nicholas is much more interesting, to be honest, than the story of Kris Kringle ever is. And maybe that's my Catholicism coming out, because Kris Kringle, or Sinterklaas, is very pagan in its roots.
Yes.
It's the entire concept of the Christmas tree is Germanic paganism.
Right, which we have baptized into a Christian symbol.
That's exactly where I was going to go with this, is that a lot of those, the Catholic Church recognized as it grew by conversion, because inherently the good news of Jesus Christ is attractive. It is something that, as a general, people, with an agenda often will say, well, Christianity was imposed at the point of the sword. That is really not true. As a general rule, that's not the way this works. Christianity is brought into an area, and the people want it because it gives some meaning and purpose to their otherwise bleak and short lives. And it has a basis in what we believe is revelation, Christ's coming, which was established and real. So of course this is going to be attractive to people. Unlike, and I don't mean to, smack our Muslim brothers and sisters, but Islam was pretty much imposed at the point of the sword.
Yes.
Their history is well known with that. And that they didn't stay that way. They would eventually get to the point when you start talking about Al-Andalus. It was a very peaceful transition, and it was a cultural mix and things like that. I'm getting off subject a little bit. But it reminds us that when we go into a place as Christianity and drive out the old gods, people don't want to lose those customs that they've grown up with. So you've got this adaptation of the Yule tree, the evergreen during the snows of winter, this winter solstice celebration that is grafted onto the Christian symbols. And and it talks about, and as we remember from one of our favorite movies, Excalibur, John Boorman was very deliberate with that imagery. He wanted to show that Merlin was the old pagan ways being eclipsed by the new Christianity brought in by Arthur. And that was, Boorman will tell you this, he wants that dichotomy here, and it's explicit in there. And that's really what happened.
Yeah. How do you convert while still giving some comfort to people when you're asking them to take on this entirely new way of life?
That's right. And
A new way of thinking.
A new way of thinking.
And you do not wish to seem to impose this.
Yeah, so you subsume their habits and their symbols in and adopt them into and adapt them to what you're asking them to take on.
That's right. And if they are popular enough, they spread.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Christmas tree is probably the best example of that.
Yeah.
The church has done the same thing in South America. We've done it in Central America, Mexico. We've done it especially in Africa. Africa is probably the only legitimate place where you have liturgical dance, because that's essentially where it comes from.
That's right. Yeah, it's not only permitted, but it's expected there.
Yes.
But it gives most Catholics, at least American Catholics, the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
To be honest, it doesn't see it.
It's just not part of our tradition.
It's not part of our tradition. It's not part of our form of worship. Some of that is Puritanism. Some of that's also Victorian attitudes.
Well, that's very much a Puritanism.
But it's the next generation.
And some part of it is, man, we're just too lazy to dance. Just let us sit here.
Well, have you seen most Americans dance?
We're terrible.
We are awful at it.
I know. Well,
but doggone, it's Sunday, and I worked all week, and I got up late, and I'm just barely here at Mass, and I don't want to dance.
Well, that's the thing, though. The people in the pews don't have to dance. Thank God.
Yeah, you bring in the dancers and things like that. Some of that is very Celtic in origin.
Yeah.
Because the dance piece was a Celtic thing. The Welsh still practice it. The Scottish, they're all Scottish as crap.
Yeah.
So there's some of that in there. But the Norman French, which became the dominant English culture, kind of said, no, stop the music. We're not doing any more of that. And that's, dancing for us is in the ballroom within a very specifically defined methodology.
And it's very interesting about how much of our traditions about things are much more Germanic than they are Norman French or what would become English.
And those are very
interesting.
very different cultures.
Yeah.
That's because the Germans, the Saxons, very much, even though the Normans conquered England after the Saxons came there, the Saxons conquered it back when William and Mary were invited to be king and queen. So a lot of that Germanic stuff is actually part of English tradition as well.
Mm-hmm. It is
from pre-Norman times,
right? Because it becomes the Hanoverians, and they bring stuff to England that's very German.
And from there you've got Victoria marrying Albert, who is extremely German, and there's that tension that happens there for a while.
Yeah.
Getting to the point we've talked about this, where the royal family has to change their name during World War I.
Right, they have to become the Windsors.
Because they are genetically German. Because Victoria was, and Albert was, and it's the royal family is essentially German, and the surname reflected that.
Yes.
So they had to graft themselves into the English culture, which they had subsumed themselves. They had taken on. They were very English in the way they worked.
Right.
And
but they just lived. Genetically were all German.
They were different. That's right. And I'm not sure if there might be a distinction without a difference, perhaps.
Well, those family traditions will color your beliefs, your practices as well, and that some of that stuff will be seen as popular because it comes from king and queen.
Well, that's right. I mean, Shakespeare says in Henry V, "We are the makers of manners," and it's very, very true. In fact, and the tartan and all Scottish accoutrements and symbols were suppressed after Culloden until Victoria, because she
resurrected all that stuff.
All that stuff because she thought it was fascinating.
Yeah.
And she also realized, those are my people. They're not going to revolt against me. Let's let them have this back. And she was right.
Give them something to grab onto.
That's right.
The tartans and all that.
There was no longer... They were fully the United Kingdom, and they had the ability to have various cultural representations of that were not harmful to the unity.
Yep.
Which is all fascinating in the context of St. Nicholas. Which is my way of saying we've gotten off a bit off
But it's just, fascinating. You take all of that and then you end up with a guy in an itchy suit and fake beard sitting in a shopping mall with little kids urinating on his pants.
Right.
You had to go there. I wasn't expecting that one.
The other way, if you don't go there, you got to go into, is this guy a perv letting all these kids sit on his lap?
That's right.
I mean, because and parents
a Red Ryder BB gun, you'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Yeah.
And shove him down.
And then he brings in the little brother and he screams, "Get him out of here!" Send him down the slope.
Down the slide.
And then, of course, there's one of my favorite Christmas movies. Well, besides Die Hard, Bad Santa.
I have not watched.
I have not had it. Billy Bob Thornton,
Billy
and
Bob,
Lauren Graham, and many others.
I love Lauren Graham.
Well, that's right. Yes, she's.
It is so absurd that it is hilarious. You can't help but love Billy Bob Thornton as Bad Santa because he's so bad at being Santa.
I'm sorry. I'll watch just about anything Billy Bob Thornton does. I like him a lot. If you get a chance to watch his TV series on Amazon, Goliath, fantastic.
I've not seen that.
Fantastic. The first season is tremendous. The second was pretty darn good. The third one, meh, but the fourth one just aired. We haven't watched it yet. It's Billy Bob Thornton. That's really all you need to know. He's going to be entertaining.
Every time we do an episode, there's more to watch, more to read. I do not have time for this stuff.
Sorry, dudes.
I cannot help it. It's so much television.
I cannot help it.
And he's writing a book.
That's right. Exactly. We're working on it.
And doing 2 other jobs.
You're going to give me a retroactive hernia if you keep this up, guys. Come on.
No, we bow in awe of your ability to get so much done.
That's all I can do to keep up with Wilson the Wonder Doodle.
Well, yes, I understand that, but it's
At least Bosco's a professional napper. I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Well, Mrs. Francis and
speaking of,
yeah, go ahead.
We do need to
an official
to make note and raise the glass to the passing of the family pet.
Oh, yes, that is correct.
Farewell to Inara.
As we record this, it's a week old.
Yes.
Yes.
All you brown coats out there. Francis's dog, Inara.
You'll get the reference if you're a brown coat.
Yeah.
That's right.
We've discussed her before.
She was adorable.
She was. I mean,
Absolutely
she
adorable.
loved you guys tremendously. I think she barked maybe 3 times in her whole life. That's although my son says 5, but that's about it.
Very
That's
sweet.
heard.
But she stepped on the Rainbow Bridge, and we have to say farewell.
She did. Yes, it was.
Yes, just barely 2 months after
my daughter's
dog
passed away. It had to be put to sleep because for various reasons. This one here, she's had Cushing disease for a long time. She was 12. She's 14 years old. We'd had her for 12 years.
14's a good run.
A good run
That's
for a mid-sized dog is what she was. She was half.
That's about right.
She was a puggle, mostly beagle. I think that it was.
Yeah, I think
beagle
so.
was dominant.
Oh yeah,
very much so.
She had a nice long snout.
Yeah, and she had Cushing's disease and made her weaker.
Yeah, it's
but
really rough on
it
her.
was, and it led to congestive heart failure. And we knew there was something wrong, and not to hurt any dog lovers out there, but she began to collapse because she couldn't breathe because half of her heart shut down.
Yeah.
And once that happened, any noise, any excitement whatsoever would cause this to happen.
Right.
Somebody knocks on the door and she turns and boom, it's done. So that's when they realized this can't continue because she was in pain when that happened, and it would happen all the time. So Yes, the Rainbow Bridge is...
raise a glass of mixtures to an arm.
Well, yeah, and my son went with my wife into the doctors to do that. I was very proud of him. I was prepared to go, and he said it's kind of like, no, Dad, I want to. It's a reason to be proud for a young man who would face the trauma because he was 8 when we got her.
Yes. When we had to say bye to Jesse summer ago in 2020, Bjorn accompanied us, and
currently they only allowed 2 back there. I did not lay that out. Yes, so only 2 could go.
Yes.
So it was my wife, of course, because it was her dog and our son.
Yes, I've been very lucky in that the 2 major dogs I've had that have lived long enough to die a natural death, I did not have to put down because they were relatively sudden.
Right, it's good that
Lady was probably, objectively speaking, probably could have been put down a few days prior, but she was just all of a sudden couldn't really do anything.
And was she 20?
16.
16.
16. My aunt's poodle made it to 18 or 20. I forget which.
Smaller dogs.
Yeah, smaller dogs
can manage
live
that longer. Yeah.
Dittos lived to be, I think, 11, but he had hip dysplasia. Dogs like him with hip dysplasia generally live half that long.
Well, yeah, because he was huge. He's a big dog.
Yeah. And he just collapsed one day. Didn't even know anything was wrong with him, and had to carry him into the house because he went out to do his business.
Our previous dog, that's what happened. I don't think it may have been hip dysplasia, but she got to the point where she couldn't go. She would collapse. She couldn't go outside.
Yeah,
and she's too big to carry.
Yes,
it's something that I did, that day and the next day until we could get things arranged.
Yeah,
but she's she's 100 pounds. Mama ain't carried her out. That's for damn sure. And I did not plan on making this a long term duty of mine. So,
all right, but still, it's very sad because they are family members. They really are.
Very much so. Yeah, that's correct. And it's
always sad.
The mourning will continue for a long time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And you miss them in the absence of things.
Yes.
When things that you do not have to do anymore.
Yes.
That's where you notice, or they would do certain things that they don't do anymore. You don't have to watch where you walk when you get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, so you don't step on the dog.
See, I never had to worry about that because my dog was always on his bed in the corner, downstairs in his chair, or more likely on one of the couches that he wasn't supposed to be on. Yeah. Or Bosco is downstairs in my basement. He has adopted, or shall we say claimed, the prime spot on my couch in the downstairs area, my man cave. Oh. And he's sleeping there a lot. I kind of like it because at least he spends some time in the same room with me.
Yeah.
He still doesn't want me to bother him.
Right.
Because
that's totally cool.
Professional nappers, you don't mess with a professional when they're about their business.
Yes.
So
it's very well put.
So honor rights. I think the last time I really talked about Wilson the Wonder Doodle, who's still a brand new pup, so he's itty bitty. He is now 28 pounds. And
Francis knows every pound of it.
Yes. When the fellas came to Studio M this morning, as is well known, Robert's much more the dog person. Wilson pretty much ignored Robert.
Yeah, almost scared of me.
Gave him a little attention, but jumped all over Francis. Because he knows a good heart when he sees one.
Well, thank you for that. Yes, that is true, but as listeners may know, I'm like Sheldon Cooper. I don't like to be touched by dogs or animals or things like that. That's just I just don't do that. And, of course, they, with great relish,
and in fairness, I know your allergies are a tough thing for you.
They are.
But Wilson the Wonder Doodle's very hypoallergenic, does not shed much.
I've not been affected at all, so it's no problem.
But he was all over Francis this morning. It was wonderful. We had a good laugh.
We did.
Yes,
it's always wonderful to watch Francis have to deal with dogs that want to love on him so much. It's funny because cats, they always go to the person who's not a cat person.
Yeah.
And dogs, they always look to convert. Cats do it, I think, just to annoy that non-cat person.
Yes.
Dogs, they instinctively know, okay, he's a dog person, I don't have to worry about him. This one I need to convert. They are zealous in their attempts at being missionaries.
Yeah, kind of like punching heretics, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Right.
Oh, nice segue. Nice way to bring it back around.
right. So, yeah.
Nice way to bring
Completing
it
the
back around.
sentences, as Monty Python would say. That's
Well,
what we do.
there is one more item I would like to do though.
Oh,
as
yes.
as we discuss being here again, I'm thrilled to have the fellas back in Studio M, 30th floor of the Nakatomi Plaza. We are maxing and relaxing. We have our glass of Michter's bourbon here.
Yes.
Yes.
Super smooth. I poured one last snort neat rather than with ice. And yes, I'm getting a lot more of the complexity this way. Wow, super
It's
good.
Christmas, guys.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we be, everybody, if you're going to imbibe, why wouldn't you do it on a holiday like this?
Yes. So the last several episodes now we have all imbibed the same thing at the same time, which I kind of like it when we do that, so we can discuss the things that we pull out of our rear end.
It should be our norm. Yeah.
This is complex. Like I said last time, I think licorice, oaky, char, woodsy. Maybe just a touch of chocolate as well.
Yeah, there's sweetness there.
Yeah, so I'm getting more of the
I wouldn't have
sweetness
said
now.
chocolate, but I would have said sweetness, so yeah, I'll take that.
So,
Yeah.
but I also want to mention I added something to Studio M on the stairways down to Studio M.
Oh, that's right. We haven't talked about this yet. Yeah.
A high school classmate, thank you, Shane, made a bourbon barrel top with the Snakes and Otters logo on it.
That's right. And if you want to see this, folks, you're probably seeing it on your podcast right now. But you can always go to our website, snakesandotters.com.
Yes, there is a blog post that features a photograph. I'm very, very grateful to Shane.
Yes, I gotta say, I'm
it's
quite
so
jealous.
awesome.
You have the Bellarmine seal as well as the bourbon barrel top, which
Yeah.
is just phenomenal.
Well, it's
Bourbon
positioned
barrel.
as you come down his steps, and it is perfectly positioned. It's perfect
Yes,
there.
Thank you.
yes,
you're
it's
taking
as
a-
if saying, abandon all ye other inferior
Intellects.
beverages
Yeah.
as you now enter the domain of snakes and otters.
Hey,
So,
sister?
Yeah,
Sister?
bourbon barrel lids make excellent decorations, and when you get the design burned in, and Shane does all kinds of stuff. Of course, he does the university, local universities, and basketball teams, and personalizes them for people and their homes and their family names and stuff. But I got him to do one, a Snakes and Otters logo. It was a little bit of a challenge, but he pulled it off great.
Yeah,
Excellent.
it's
And,
a perfect replica.
Yeah,
Of what we did.
the finish. Of course, he seals them with the finish and everything. And
It's gloss.
it just
Beautiful
looks
gloss,
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of the Bellarmine seal, I don't know if I told you guys that since we are rabbit holing great.
yes,
here,
we're way off, but it's
Uh,
Christmas.
It's
and-
Christmas.
It's Christmas. We can do that. So the second child, the middle spawn,
Yes.
and we have gotten season tickets to the Bellarmine men's basketball games.
Awesome.
Well, aren't you just the special
So
one?
they're held now in Freedom Hall.
Awesome.
Yes, I did know
And-
that. A good
Yes,
friend
they started
of mine.
that last year.
Good
when
friend
they
of mine
joined
has
the
got season
ASUN
tickets there.
conference.
Yes.
Yes.
And the Bellarmine logo is plastered on the floor.
Yes.
So
oh, yeah.
it is, when they do basketball, that's the logo that's on it.
Yeah.
So I think we need to start a petition to rename Freedom Hall. Now there's already a Knights Hall, but we need to rename it to Knights Arena
Interesting.
because the Knights are the only ones
Fascinating.
playing
Fascinating.
major sport there.
Yeah. University of Louisville. It's not their floor anymore.
Nope.
Yeah.
So Bellarmine is the only occupant of Freedom Hall.
Yeah. So I think Knights Arena,
I'm loving it as
Is-
opposed to Knights Hall,
yes.
which is the small one where we used
right?
to
Which is Knights Hall should always be what is on campus.
right.
So, and that's obviously still the practice facility.
Yes.
So, yes, Bellarmine has joined Division One. They're our Division One school now for men's basketball, and
It's pretty awesome.
They came in second in their conference after
They
being
came-
predicted to finish last.
They came very close to winning the ASUN.
yes,
very
as a
close
first-
to winning
Now
the
they
whole
cannot go to the NCAA men's tourney for 4 years, which I do not understand. Nobody moves up to do better in your postseason tournament. I can see a Division One team moving down, being barred
Yeah.
for a couple of years, but moving up, who cares?
Yeah, I mean, if you're moving up, why not? Why the restriction?
It's
Well,
one of those
it's-
stupid bureaucratic rules.
There's
Any change,
there's something there that they're trying to prevent somebody from getting away with.
Well,
don't know
yeah.
what that is. I'm not. I'm
That's
not
the thing.
smart
I don't
enough.
know, what could it be? that
Anybody
you-
big enough to do well in the major tourney
It's
is
already
already
there.
Division One.
Right.
You know, they would have long ago become Division One. So it's very strange, but
It may be a recruiting issue. I'm not sure.
Could be.
There's all sorts of
But-
regulations that
they're in the
Make-
big time now. They just we went to the one game back on October 28th, and it was preseason, and they played a little school called Tiffin.
Yep.
Phenomenal game.
Really?
So if you guys have, I know you guys have never been to a basketball game, at least not a modern game. I don't know if you ever went. To
Oh,
one
it's
in
been
school.
forever and ever since.
I was supposed to go in the spring. My good buddy has season tickets, and he invited me to go, Jerry, and I couldn't make it. I couldn't make it work. The wife and I were going to go with him and his wife. They're great friends of ours, and it's going to come around. So
Well,
hopefully
when-
this season we'll
When
be
the middle
there.
spawn cannot go, one of you will be able to go with me.
Oh, Chihuahua. That's
So, you know,
good
obviously,
thing.
You know, I can't take both of you, but if all the seats aren't taken, you know, you buy a ticket at the door and,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I mean,
wander down to where you
we'll
are.
let we'll take turns. It's not
Yeah.
a big problem.
So, well, and I don't know how often, you know, that'll happen that she can't go or I can't go, but, you know, I'm sure it'll happen over the course of a...
I don't know. Maybe we have to do some kind of arena fight like on Star Trek. See who gets the ticket.
There you go.
with the the Anvun and Delerpa. That's what I'm experts, dude. I'm telling you, Vulcan fighting techniques.
Well-
I got this down.
No, not Vulcan fight. No, the
whoever gets their
Klingon
shirt
bat
ripped,
lefts?
whoever gets
The-
their shirt ripped across with a nice little cut,
that's who gets the ticket.
That's who gets
Greg,
the ticket.
Whoever
Or bleeding out of the side of the mouth.
well, that
remember?
goes without saying.
Yeah,
Of course.
the Kirk uniform rip. Whoever ends up with that, yes.
Yes.
This is true. It's
What
either
is
or
that? What is that episode where they're forced? They have the collars and they're forced to fight.
Gamesters for Triskelion.
Games.
Yes,
Triskelion,
Games for
that's right.
Triskelion,
Yes,
yes.
that's right. Fantastic stuff there.
Yes.
Not near as Amok Time was the one with he gets that cut through there and stuff like that. And
Yeah. Which he gets in many other...
the Gorn episode 2. I mean, we could go on and on,
Yes.
but
Yes,
hey.
but this is Christmas and we're talking about St. Nicholas. So,
Go ahead.
St. Nicholas has his own merits as far as a saint. If you're Catholic and you have any devotion to saints, I think he's a great one because of his generosity. But what fascinates me is this transition to jolly old St. Nick and the Thomas Nast newspaper-inspired image with the red suit and all that. And
along with Clement Moore and his poem,
Yeah.
that was about
was the
that
night
same
before
time.
Christmas.
Right, which laid down a whole lot of that.
Right.
Which is still, it's been published a gazillion times.
Oh, yeah. Every one of us had some kind of picture book based on that poem when we were kids.
Yeah, in fact, it got to the point with me and my 3 siblings. Each of us had our own that was published right around the time we were born, that were ours.
Right.
And to be honest, the one I had was pretty daggone nice in the mid '60s. The one my brother had 8 years later was not near as good. Don't know what that is.
Well, the oldest child always gets the best.
Well, we'd like to think so. That's right.
Well, being the youngest, I don't. I know.
Yes, it's a very old argument. We understand. That's right.
But it's to me, it's fascinating how that transition is made, and even the date is not kept the same. The Germanic tradition of Saint Nick is still December 6th, with the little treats and the shoes, and yet we have this Christmas, which is tied up with the 3 wise men, the 3 kings, whichever version of that you want to call them, and bringing the presents to the baby Jesus. So all of that gets mixed in with St. Nicholas and saving the 3 men from death, saving the 3 young girls from the life of prostitution, and all of that. And we get this modern, commercialized abomination that we call the Christmas season that starts in June.
Yeah.
Or something close to that.
Coca-Cola and...
Oh, yes, and Coca-Cola has really co-opted.
Yeah,
the whole
department
imagery.
stores and kids will shoot your eye out and...
Now, I will grant you, the one good thing that has come out of all of that are the Christmas TV shows. The Christmas specials.
That's right, which we've talked about.
Which we've
those
talked about.
before.
Yeah.
Well, you might remember with the Charlie Brown series of television specials. They started with Charlie Brown Christmas. This is the one everybody knows the best of. But they had many others.
Oh, yeah.
And they would add these when we were children. Every few years, Charles Schultz would say, because the Christmas one turned out to be a bazillion seller. It was huge after fashion. So they came up with one for Easter. And this is about the mid-'70s. And I think this is Schultz. I don't know this for sure. But they go into a department store. Lucy and Linus and Peppermint Patty and Sally, I think it is. And it's 283 days to Christmas.
Yes.
Everything is decorated for Christmas. And this is right around Easter, which is like the amazing middle, the finger of flying friendship has been extended by Charles Schultz to the entire commercial Christmas article, which is kind of like part 2 of what he tried to set out in the classic, the first one.
Right.
It's not about commercialism, Charlie Brown.
Exactly.
And this is the same finger in the eye.
Because the Christmas season doesn't start with Thanksgiving. It starts on Christmas Eve.
That's right. It runs through Epiphany.
Right.
Which is...
So the 12 days of Christmas don't happen until Christmas Eve. That's when it starts. And I read the story that the reason we have now become an early, is because of World War II. That the post office was encouraging all the people back home who wanted to send presents to the soldiers overseas to do their shopping early and put them in the mail. Because there's no guarantee that stuff's going to get there quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, of course, the department stores just love that. And now the Christmas buying, now starting in October. I've literally seen
about Halloween.
Black Friday stuff before November 1st. Mm-hmm. Black Friday specials. If we go lower, you'll get the price difference and stuff like that. That's Best Buy's thing.
Right. Well, some of that is because...
first the decorations were showing up before the kids were going back to school. And, now the sales are starting in October.
What's messing with some of that is the Halloween decorating business is so huge. It's kind of like this tidal wall. You can't really get... You can have sales ahead of time, but the decorating part won't... You're not going to overwhelm that Halloween piece because
I don't know.
So
I don't know that Halloween decorating is that big.
It's the second biggest after Christmas. Holiday that's...
if Christmas is like 80%, then, second biggest is not really that big.
I guess, but no other holiday throughout the nation.
Yeah, retail
for sales,
sinks or floats.
Sales dollars.
Retail sinks and floats on Christmas, but yes, Halloween has now become the second biggest deal as far as anything that generates money.
Right.
In a holiday.
But it's still compressed in time, though.
Yeah.
Because even before Halloween gets here, the Christmas stuff comes out. Because, that's almost all true.
The rhythm of the year retail is, back to school. All right, clear that out. Get the Halloween stuff out. Okay, clear that out. Get the Christmas stuff out.
Right, and then it's Valentine's Day.
Then Valentine's Day, and then
Easter.
Then Easter, and then
Memorial
4th of July.
Day.
Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Mother's Day's huge.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and then...
But there's no decorations and stuff like that.
That's correct.
But it's once you get out of Easter, it's basically summer stuff for the grilling and 4th of July and travel.
Right. The sales are generally tied to the big holidays, even though, because Mother's Day, it's only for moms. Not everybody's a mom. Father's Day, it's only for dads. And
right.
Not
It's not quite the same. Whereas Super Bowl Sunday is huge.
Right.
Yeah.
For electronics.
Yes. TVs. Of course, now, so are the returns the Monday after Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of people do that. They buy big TVs and return them.
Yeah. So it's, the rhythm of the year in retail but sweep it out. Okay, Halloween's over, sweep all that out, mark all the candy to 25% of its original, and let's get the Christmas stuff out there.
Right.
And it's just...
Yeah.
Whoosh.
All of November is now pre-Christmas.
Yes.
It used to be, Thanksgiving was kind of like that unofficial we'll agree, and then until we don't agree.
Right, and now, Thanksgiving sales, Black Friday sales now start on Thanksgiving. In a couple of years, I'm sure, I'm sure it'll be all of Thanksgiving week.
Yeah. Which
Which in some ways is better, because I know I've heard from some people in retail that Black Friday is actually better now because it's not all compressed into Friday.
That's right.
Yeah.
In one day.
Which I get, but really, you can't close the stores on Thanksgiving Day. Come on.
Well, they have been.
Yeah,
But
there was some
yeah.
backlash to staying open on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, but
And
I
some
think it's...
retailers have started closing up.
Yeah, or they'll open at 5 p.m. on Thanksgiving.
Well, there are some, yes, that are opening for a little while
Yeah.
and then closing for whatever reset they're doing, and then, but still, some things should be sacrosanct, and
Yeah.
Thanksgiving
I like
is
so.
it's both it's a quasi-religious holiday. Because anytime you give thanks, who are you giving thanks to? God, okay, but it's very generic kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still I've always been fascinated with this kind of morphism that has happened from the guy who saves young girls from a life of prostitution to stripper pole Barbie. Granted, there's not one that's really doing a stripper pole, but I think that was suggested at one time. A dancer with a pole. I don't know if it ever actually made it to...
Yeah, I mean, you go from slapping Arius over heresy to, punching your neighbors over Cabbage Patch dolls.
Right.
There's a continuity to history.
That's right.
There is.
Well, yeah.
Like I said...
It may not repeat, but it rhymes.
But it rhymes.
Yeah. Well, Jingle All the Way with Arnold.
Oh, yeah.
And it's looking for the toy, the one, and then all that stuff. It's actually not bad.
Oh, no, it's a fun film.
Arnold did some really, I love Conan the Barbarian. It's one of my favorites. The Terminator is great. But Arnold was actually a pretty good comedic actor.
He was.
He really did some really...
Kindergarten Cop was awesome.
It's
not a Tuma.
It's not a Tuma. Arnold in his heyday, in the 80s and early 90s, he was a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But, what is it about people that causes us to take something so good and totally screw it up?
And ruin it with...
Crash commercialism. Now, we say it's for a good cause, so the kids can have presents to open up on Christmas Day. But you know what? That's a load of crap, too, because there's a whole lot of inequity in that, in the sense that grandparents especially always screw this up. Because they'll give the grandkids some big-ass present, and they'll say it's from Santa Claus. Well, kids go back to school, and their poorer friends, they got a new outfit from Santa Claus.
Yeah, you're perpetuating an idea of economic injustice early on. That's not really very fair.
Well, what does it tell the kids about themselves? Literally, I never had this because I never really paid that much attention to that sort of thing. Looking back on the Christmases that we had, we had some really poor, as in monetarily poor Christmases. But, when you're a kid, it's mostly about opening the presents, or at least, that's the way I remember it.
Yeah.
Of course, I came of age before we had the great Cabbage Patch Wars of the 1980s.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of the stuff we had then were not that expensive, relatively speaking. So it was, all it takes is a couple of those. But we were on the leading edge of the commercialism.
We were, yes.
Toy commercialism, because the Sears catalog in the early 70s...
Sears catalog was gold.
Was fracking amazing. And you can find those online, by the way, which is really kind of cool to go back and look at,
Well, and up to a point, toys were kind of generic and sort of the same.
Until Star Wars.
Until Star Wars... and then it really started to be a real money-making competition.
A lot of the stuff before that was a holdover from the 40s and 50s.
Well, there was. There was the licensed stuff. There was Star Trek toys, and there was the Planet of the Apes toys.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe. And
Mego made a huge amount of money for a pittance. Actually, you can find some good websites that tell that story, because the action figure thing was actually pretty slick, because they were very cheap. And they were able to use the same parts for multiple different licensed
put different
products.
heads on them.
Spray paint them a little differently, and then it was a whole different...
That's right. So it was a pretty good deal for them. But we lost, sooner or later, that wears off, and the desire for something a bit more sophisticated comes along, and Star Wars filled that niche pretty well.
Yeah, Star Wars was the first blockbuster toy tie-in.
Yeah, and it
started the toy commercialization of media properties in a way that we have not yet recovered from.
even more than Planet of the Apes did.
Yeah, well, Star Trek and Planet of the Apes were the Mego products, and the superheroes were too. That was some of it. Then you go into the Star Wars that changes everything, and Hasbro wisely picks up on this. Oh, crap. Well, we've got this G.I. Joe property over here that we've had in the 50s and 60s. Let's retool that using the same models, that Star Wars used, where you've got now, instead of 2 or 3 action figures that you might have, you now have 70.
Collect the whole set.
Collect the whole set. And you have it supported, because it has to be media supported, you have a syndicated cartoon series in the early 80s.
Yes, that is when cartoons became, unbeknownst to us as children, but that they became nothing more than 30-minute commercials for toys.
Yeah.
Correct. If you were smart enough to get a really good writer, it's sustainable. Some comic book writers wrote for G.I. Joe,
yes,
and they wrote for Transformers, and J. Michael Straczynski, one of the gods of screenwriting, he wrote for He-Man and created She-Ra, which were big around the same time. Thundercats.
He may have been one of the writers, but I think that's still a Kirby creation.
He didn't create the character, but he was the head. He was the showrunner writer.
Because if you know anything about Kirby and Kirby art, and you watch He-Man, you see, oh, that's Kirby. That is all Kirby.
Oh, definitely. But
that's very much commanding.
She-Ra was what he was responsible for. But he wrote for He-Man because they were basically spin-offs of each other. And if you read his book, and I'm give a big plug for Becoming Superman. Fantastic book. Joe Straczynski is one of my heroes. We got to do one on him eventually. One of the best screenwriters out there.
I still think his Rising Stars series sucked at the end, but other than that,
you did.
He was the ending sucked.
Okay, because he was very proud of that one.
He's reading his own press clippings, smoking some really good stuff.
Joe, we love you if you're listening. Wouldn't it be nice?
But I mean, if you can't take a little bit of criticism, then you shouldn't be doing the work.
Yeah, he is a notoriously nice guy, too.
Yeah, well, I just thought the ending fell flat, is all.
Yeah,
and was kind of cliched and just I mean, I have to go back and reread it to give you the specifics, but I just did not like it. But other than that, I like his stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyways, Santa has become this,
after the 15th rabbit hole,
crass commercialized thing, and there were some years, even when we had the kids, when they were smaller, when I hated Christmas. Absolutely despised the season because of how commercialized it was.
Oh, well, as a parent.
Well, no, just in general.
Yeah. Because
of how the season was so, and still is, so bad. It's all about the stuff, all about the buying. It's not about that original intention of doing literally a good deed for 3 young girls.
And giving is supposed to be from one's heart.
Yes.
For someone that you care for. The entire concept of giving has been perverted.
Yes, I hate the pressure of you have to give to somebody.
And we've been conditioned, and therein lies my big moral objection to the whole thing. The entire marketing apparatus that is, billions of dollars has conditioned us to do exactly that. We must buy the biggest, the best, etc. more and more. Yeah. And if we don't, we are consigned to the netherworld, and that's problematic for me.
You don't want to disappoint your children, do you?
Why not? I do it every other day of the year.
You might as well. You got to buy the biggest thing there is and the most expensive. Make sure they have an Xbox.
Which of course feeds into the whole concept of helicopter parent to begin with, which we talked about.
Yeah.
That's the same dance, different tune.
Honestly, we had a little bit more of a simpler Christmas a couple of years ago. Last year was simpler in the sense that we did. It was a lot of technology. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of upgrades and what have you coincided, so we kind of and we splurged a little bit on that. But those are kind of nice because you buy somebody a brand new cell phone, you pay it off in payments, and you don't even pay interest on it. So,
and you don't have to put it together.
And and if you're lucky, they just take the phone and go and leave you alone the rest of the day. Which again is sounds very anti-family, but there's some days you just love the solitary aspect of things.
Wouldn't it be nice?
But I have to say, last Christmas for us was very, very special. Even though we were missing our little girl Jessie, the oldest Doxy had been gone only a few months, but it was a big deal. First Christmas in our new house here, and
that was ours too. We were.
Yeah, you guys moved the same year.
Yeah, that's right. Because we were both, the first time in the new house.
And it's the first time we had attempted to make standing rib roast for Christmas dinner, which turned out amazing, and I posted about that.
I remember
that.
Yeah,
Yes.
it turned out really awesome. So it was like prime rib dinner for Christmas, and a nice glass of wine, a little horseradish on the side.
Oh, you're making me hungry, dude.
It was a special Christmas. I really,
Yeah.
really
I loved
appreciate it.
ours because we've got in the new house we've got the high vaulted ceiling in the living area, so we could buy the damn 10-foot tree.
Sure. Yeah.
That's all because in the old house the ceilings were rather small, so
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
were
Well,
we
we've
had
got,
to cut them way short.
What I call the Christmas tree window there
Yep.
in the just to the right of the television as you're looking
Right,
at it.
yeah.
That punch out there, and so we can have one slightly taller.
Yeah.
But one of the coolest things about the first year, actually the first 2 years we were at our new house, we had the first year both sides of the family, of Tracy's mom's family and Tracy's dad's family, because none of my family is here. They all came over and we did Christmas at our place. It was a pain in the butt to set up for, but a lot of that is also there's some potluck to it. We don't have to do all of the food.
Yep.
But it was so nice not to have to go anywhere. I would host every year if it meant I didn't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, no, we don't really have a very good window for the Christmas tree in this house yet, or at all. We'll probably have to end up putting it towards the back window eventually. But we did buy a brand new tree for this year.
Oh.
Our other tree is 20 plus, And but this year I think we're going to put it up down here in Studio M, down in the man cave.
Well, you've got the option to get to get a few others too. We've got a little bitty one. We've been buying real for many years.
Yeah.
And so we can get those big 10-foot ones if you get the right one. And we also had a small one at the top of the stairs that which we have now. We've got.
You have kind of a landing at the top of the stairs. Would be an excellent place for a small one.
Which we did that, and it worked out really, really well. I wanted her to put one in the front window in the dining room, which we don't use much.
Yeah.
But she wasn't willing to buy 2 trees, and I get that.
See, I would,
We don't have enough. As much crap as we have, we don't have enough crap to decorate that.
Well, I get pretty exhausted by the time I unwind 400 lights and all that.
Yeah.
So and assemble the artificial, but we've never even had the brand new artificials. Never even been out of the box. It's in here ready to go.
We bought a pre-lit tree a couple of years ago. I still add lights to it because pre-lit's not enough lights. I like but you know what? I'm to the point where I don't even like doing the decorations because Mrs. Robert likes every possible thing to put on the darn tree that she possibly can.
Yes.
Now, the girls have taken a good deal of their ornaments because they've moved out on their own.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, we don't have as much stuff to put on it, so maybe it won't be as bad this year. But,
we've got to kind of restrain a little bit of the Hallmark ornaments. I would like to redo our tree and make it kind of where all the ornaments were sort of alike.
So hanging bourbon bottles from
But have it be kind of a theme is the wrong word, but where it had a kind of a consistent look. But there's something to be said for
Mrs. Francis
the hodgepodge.
It's been into that for a long time.
Yes, your trees are always.
She won't tolerate hodgepodge anymore. Those
Yes, I remember your tree is very much like a design element.
Mrs. Robert is into
means.
these all have special meaning. They were from a particular year.
Yes.
Or they're
We
homemade
did that for a
from
while,
the kids.
and they got retired.
And, Mrs. Robert's like, well, no, we just add them every year. It's like, we don't have a tree big enough, first of all.
Yeah.
And then,
it's time for
when I was growing up, first of all, we didn't put up the tree until the 15th. And partially that's because my parents are lazy about getting a tree.
Yeah.
And I had to insist on it in the latter years because I was the only kid at home. And then, as I became older, they were like, you don't need a tree. And I was like, yeah, we need a tree.
Need a tree.
So, but they always did a late tree. Whereas Mrs. Roberts' family always did it Thanksgiving weekend. So we have that constant war. Guess who wins? Every year.
I know who wins. It ain't you, bro.
And it ain't me.
Yeah, I would much rather do it a little later, but by the time we have so many things going on and all of that, it's like, well, shoot, the 4-day weekend's about the only chance we got. So it's going to have to be
then, of course, there's
Friday after Thanksgiving.
Then, of course, there's our bourbon pastor who refuses to go into a home where the Christmas tree is up. One of the couples we're meeting with later on for the trivia, turns out We independently got invited to the same trivia event with mutual friends.
Oh, there you go.
They decorate same time everybody else does, Thanksgiving weekend. And like he will go up and he won't go anywhere out of past their kitchen because it's all Christmas stuff everywhere else.
Oh, the pain.
Because Christmas doesn't start until New Year's Eve.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas doesn't start.
That's right.
Yeah,
Christmas doesn't start till Christmas Eve.
Yeah. So, but anyways,
we'll talk about New Year's next week.
Yeah, probably, yes.
Which is kind of a great segue to end this episode
yes.
in.
Real quick, though, I just want to say, as much as we rabbit-holed and complained about some of the aspects of Christmas, this really was about St. Nicholas, the guy who started everything. Right. Listeners, go look him up. Look up the real... there's two things you do. The real reason behind the season is, yes, the birth of Jesus Christ on the 25th, but St. Nicholas is not Santa Claus, damn it. And hopefully your kids were not here to hear that. But he's worth looking into, because he's a fantastic historical figure. And as much as we sound like a bunch of grumps, we do love Christmas.
We do.
Merry Christmas to all.
Love the getting together with family and friends to hang out. I really do.
It is good.
Because I love when we can get together and hang out when we don't have to record. There's no pressure. We don't do that often enough.
Yes.
That's why our trip to Illinois was so great.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have any pressure to do anything other than just be us.
Yeah, be there and record whatever our eyes saw.
I sense that then you're interested in a Christmas road trip.
Oh, we could certainly do that.
Oh, that may have to take some planning.
Well, I tell you what, I am off from the Wednesday before Thanksgiving to all of that weekend. I know that's probably off limits because there's stuff going on. But I am off from Christmas Eve through the day after, or through the first Monday of January. Because we're observing the New Year's holiday on the Monday, not the Friday. Because it's on a Saturday, and usually you do. But, because it's a year, you got to take that New Year holiday in the year that it happens.
Yeah.
So
ours is set that way. But
normally it's not a problem, but when it happens on a weekend, it throws you off.
Yeah.
So anyways, I've got like 10 or 12 days in a row off.
Yeah, I've got some time around then and a couple other days as well. December 3rd and 10th. And
if I'm not busy working on the book, which I will be for a good deal of that, I can squeeze a few days to get together and we can do a road trip.
Even a short one.
Even a short one, yeah.
Just a mine road or something even.
Yeah, even just a day trip somewhere.
Have dinner at Schnitzelbank.
Oh, there's a plan. There's a plan.
We have a very nice German restaurant or two here in town.
This is true. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to do all things Germanic then.
Yes.
We can talk like Arnold if we want to.
Even though that would be Austrian.
I know, but it's close enough.
But it's close enough.
Well, it'd fit right in with Saturnalia and.
That's right. Absolutely.
Very Sheldon Cooper. A happy Saturnalia to everyone. Francis, man, what is next time?
Hoopajou boys.
Hoopajou.
It's time
Love a
again.
Hoopajou.
Yeah, we got a fifth Friday in this month, so where you never know what this is going to be. Although we do already, it's going to be, and I forget which one of us thought this one up.
I think it was him.
I think it was Martin. Great, cool cars that we either had or wish we had had. Mostly wish we would have. Yeah.
I don't know. I still have a fondness for a certain vehicle that I would love to have again.
Well,
I think that's where the idea came from.
Talk about
something you guys had.
Because we all have a history. At our ages, mid-50s, we've had a few cars.
Yeah.
And you don't have to rub it in. We're all in our mid-50s.
It's a great place to be, folks. Just for our younger listeners, 30s were meh, 40s were awesome, and 50s are even better. So, hey, got something to look forward to.
Merry Christmas to one.
And to all a good night.
Hope you enjoyed another pointless discussion of eternal questions. Remember, new episodes published every Friday at noon Eastern.
Spread the word. We're on all the major podcast platforms. And leave us a comment or review because that helps others find us.
We're on Instagram, Twitter, as well as our website, snakesandotters.com.
I'm Martin.
And I'm Robert.
And I'm Francis. Join us next week. Same snake time, same otter channel.